I'm going to preface this entire video by saying I did not get that much fiber. I did not get that much fiber on this trip. This was really an equipment trip. There's really only one big ticket item. All of that being said, Maryland Sheep and Wool was a trip. Let's talk about it.
Welcome back, fiber friends. My name is Brian. I spin yarn. I make all sorts of weird fiber art. And today we're going to be talking about fiber festivals. If you've never been to a fiber festival before, if you've never been to a yarn festival before, you're missing out. Honestly, they're really fun, and you probably have a local one closer to you than you think. Today we're going to talk about a little bit of, some of the different things you can find at different fiber shows. So some fiber shows are mostly, tents and sellers and things like that. But, lots of fiber shows have educational events, music, different types of things to see and do, animals, demonstrations, and of course the fleece sale. So I am going to show off the fleeces that I picked up at Maryland Sheep and Wool this year. I stuck to my plan and I only got 2 fleeces, and I think I made some really solid choices, so I'm going to show you guys that. And we're going to talk about fleece show etiquette. So I saw a lot of new people at the fleece show this year, which is really awesome. I love to see so many more people involved, because there were over 1,000 fleeces this year, and there were less than 50 breeds this year. There were slightly fewer breeds, but honestly you would never know because there was just so much wool to be had at the fleece show this year. But there is an etiquette to fleece shows and to sort of assessing fleeces in a way that doesn't devalue it for other people. Because as much as we might just want to manhandle the fleeces, that's not always the most polite thing to do, or necessarily the thing that's going to keep the fleece in the best condition and fetch the best price for the shepherd. So we'll talk a little bit about that later, and I'm just going to show you guys all the great goodies that I got. Again, fiber shows are not just about buying things, but I definitely use it as an opportunity to expand the people that I buy fiber from. I did go back to some old reliables, so I'll talk a little bit about people that I like to buy fiber from and I've bought from in the past that I bought from again this year. I did stop at another thrift craft store. It's my new favorite thing to go looking for, and I stopped at one in Philly, so I'll talk a little bit about that and what I got from there. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. I'm gonna start with the thrift craft store that we visited in Philadelphia. The whole trip started off really good because I stopped in at the resource exchange. So I have been obsessed with thrifting craft stores lately. I think they're just a really good resource, not only for artists and people who are just maybe wanting to try a craft and don't have the money to go to a big box store or anything like that. I don't know, you get access to a lot of really unique and interesting materials at a really low cost. And it's just a good way for, if you are someone who has lost a loved one, who maybe collected, not just, crafting supplies, but also crafting equipment like sewing machines, looms, spinning wheels, etc. And you don't want them to just go to Goodwill where they might end up not being valued or possibly in the garbage. Look up a thrifting craft store. You will find people who will definitely find a really good home for that item. I loved stopping in at the resource exchange. I think I talked to, I don't know if it was an owner, a manager, but he was super helpful. He talked to me a little bit about the process of, accepting large donations, because they often get huge amounts in at a time from individuals that have passed away, or are simply trying to downsize. They feel like they might possibly have a bit of a problem, and so if you're in a hoarding situation and you're looking to get rid of things but you don't want them to again go to waste, I think this is a really good option. So what did I get at the resource exchange? I scooped up this plum wool roving. It was $4.50. It's 3 ounces. They had a bunch of roving, which all of the other thrifting craft stores that I've been to have not had roving before. They had a bunch of different colors, and they even had local Pennsylvania sheep roving, which I thought was really cool. I got a cone of yarn. If you know, you know. I don't know what it is. I didn't get cones of yarn until I got my first one, just because I was like, why do people love these so much? I need to see what the hype is. I get it. It's just endless yarn, and it's great, and it's kind of it's decorative, it's aesthetic. This is 100% cotton. It is, I think it's 2-ply if I'm not mistaken, and it is 16-2 cotton from Shuford Mills Incorporated. It says that it's purple. This looks more like a blue or an indigo to me personally than purple, but whatever it is, I love it. Let's call it pigeon gray, pigeon blue. It's a great color. So one really cool thing about the resource exchange is if you make a finished object with, you know, the crafting supplies, if you send them a photo of it, you get a discount code for the next time that you go. I am super motivated to go back and also to make sure that I share my finished object with them, because I just think it's the kind of place where it seems like they would appreciate it. They even have an artist like area, an artist viewing area where people who make things out of the things that they thrift, they can like sell them back to the public, which is how I ended up with this guy. So this is from what is it? The Squee Baby Toy Shop. It is a small toy maker. They had different dolls. They had rabbits that were really cute. They had a big fox guy. They had a few different types of rabbits and a few different sizes as well. I decided on the cat because I do think that this lovely guy is going to end up being a gift for someone that I really appreciate in my life. I haven't really settled on who yet, if I'm being honest. But I just couldn't leave him. I just think he's really, really cute. I'm absolutely obsessed. And I had to pick something up. There was a lot of really cool art, so it was hard for me to settle on this, but I just kept being drawn back to these little dolls because they are just so charming. Before we get into all of the colorful hand-dyed fiber, we are going to talk about the fleeces that I got because they are super exciting. I stuck to just getting 2 fleeces, which was exactly my game plan for the fleece show, so I'm very, very proud of myself. As I mentioned earlier, I saw a lot of new people in the fleece sale. Like, it was crazier than last year even, which is super great, especially because it was raining this year at Maryland Sheep and Wool, and so I was a little worried about the turnout, but it was fantastic. There was a lot of people in there. There was over 1,000 fleeces entered, and there was nearly 50 breeds. I think I overheard that it was 48 breeds that were entered this year, which is a little bit fewer than last year, but you would never know. You would never know based on like just how many breeds I saw present and how many fleeces I had to decide between. I almost brought home a Shropshire down fleece. That was something that I really hemmed and hawed about, and if I had to get a third fleece, it would have been this white Shropshire down that I found that was just, oh, it was beautiful. But what I decided on anyway was still fantastic. So I got a Gulf Coast native fleece. This is a conservation breed, and one that, I don't know, the owner of Fossil Fibers really put a little, I don't know, just a little bug in my brain about the Gulf Coast native, and I saw a few of them that were really charming, and then I put my hands on this one, and I was just sold. It's got a really nice hand to it. It's springy. It's got a really nice staple length though. So I think it'll be just like a delight to spin long draw. And while I was carrying it around, I hadn't really decided on the fleece yet. The sheep's name, by the way, is Lucille. She did win first place in, like, I think the Gulf Coast native breed category, so she's a good fleece. She's not coated, and again, her name is Lucille, and I didn't know why, but I met the shepherdess, and apparently her name is Lucille because she looks like Lucille Ball, because she's got crazy hair, and I just thought that was funny, so I was like, I have to take this fleece. And then my very affordable, however, like, shockingly beautiful and VM free fleece based on the price is this really beautiful Romney cross. So it has like a long wool texture on the end of the lock, but if you look at the cut base, it has and feels like kind of a fine wool, so I think this is going to felt really, really well into a rug. I was looking for one fleece to spin and dye and maybe stock a little bit in the shop. We're gonna talk about my plans for that in a little while, but not quite yet. I have a surprise. Again, we have a big ticket item that is not fiber that we're gonna talk about in a little bit. But this fleece is going to get felted. It was a Maryland fleece, and again, it's a Romney cross. Romneys felt really well, so I think this is going to be a really fun and easy project, and I look forward to how it comes out. I might over dye it. I'm not really sure. I always say that about natural fleeces, and then I see the way they look, and I'm like, I couldn't dare. But maybe I will. Maybe I will over dye this one. Maybe a blue or teal or something like that. Let's talk about these cards and the information that you can actually glean from them and how it helps you decide what fleece you're going to purchase. So as you can see, there is a wide variety of information on here. It tells you, obviously, if the sheep is coated or not. Because it's Maryland sheep and wool, it does tell you if the sheep is from Maryland. It'll tell you the breed and kind of the category that it falls into, and then obviously the price and the weight. It'll tell you who the actual, like, farm that sold it to you is, if you do want to get more of that wool, and, like, the actual address of the farm. And as you can see, this little baby had a blue ribbon attached to it as well. I'm also going to take this moment to talk a little bit about fleece sale etiquette. So, besides, you know, not just being super rude and, like, pushing and shoving people, which I feel like is a given, right? You just be nice to your fellow man. Yes, we all want the best fleece, but, like, there are 1,000 fleeces here, literally. So let's all have a little etiquette, a little politeness towards one another. Besides that, though, when you are looking at a fleece, it's generally polite to like, some of these fleeces are fine wool, so not felting it, not like squishing it and leaning on it. I saw a lot of folks kind of just like willy-nilly elbow leaning on some fleeces this year, which is definitely something that, like, if you can avoid it, I would recommend, just because, like, again, it can cause felting. You're kind of compressing the fleece. It's just not generally the vibe, you know. Another thing that generally you'll see at a lot of fleece shows is at the top of the fleece, if you're the first person to come up to a fleece, right, a beautiful fleece, you will probably not have, like, a lock set on top. So it's your opportunity to, you know, look around, kind of see where the natural folds of the fleece is. Don't disrupt anything too aggressively, because again, especially if it's someone like myself who is looking to felt a fleece, sometimes if the overall structure of the fleece has been, like, broken up enough, it definitely will dissuade me from taking that fleece to felt home with me, because, like, it's just a little bit more work having to reassemble it / like figure out the natural, you know, the natural way that it came off of the sheep, and retaining that natural sort of sheepy shape that we want to have when we make, like, a felted no-kill sheep pelt, which is essentially what I plan on doing with that Romney fleece. But once you have a lock to assess, you know, you're pulling it out, you're seeing, maybe you're like, oh, this is not the fleece that I actually thought it was. I don't really think I want this fleece. You're going to take that lock that you pulled out and make sure it's right on top. Right on top for the next person to come along, so that they don't also have to, like, dig through the fleece and pick out a lock, and then another person digs through the fleece and picks out a lock, right? This all contributes to the disorganization of the fleece, and at the end of the day, you could argue that it has no effect on the ability of that fleece to sell, but maybe it could. And again, we're all just trying to be polite and respectful of the resource that we have, because yes, there are 1,000 fleeces, but the wool is very valuable to a lot of us, to the shepherds that are there, to the people that, you know, want to get a nice fleece that maybe hasn't been really aggressively manhandled already. So yeah, fleece show etiquette, and you know, how you should go about assessing the fleece. You're allowed to get in there and see, like, especially, like, what the VM situation is like, if it was an uncoated fleece, like, make a proper assessment. But also, there's a lot that you can assess from just looking at the outside of the bag, especially when it comes to VM. If a fleece has VM, it's really about what category of VM it is, and as long as it's not those little itty-bitty leaves or little itty-bitty pieces that have really worked their way into the fleece, I don't mind that much. If it's like if I see that it's mostly big chunks of hay, and I can tell from, like, flipping the fleece around in the bag and, like, making the assessment that, like, the only VM I see are these large pieces of hay, then, like, more than likely the VM at the center of the fleece that I can't see will also be larger pieces of hay that will be easy to remove. Obviously, this is not a hard and fast rule, but I just find that it is something that I use to assess the fleece in a way that doesn't disrupt the bag too much. Speaking of locks, I also found mohair locks. There was not a lot of mohair at Maryland Sheep and Wool this year. Not a lot of mohair to be found, which is sometimes the case. I feel like it depends on the year, but I got this washed mohair. It's 5 ounces. It is this natural gray, which I love a natural gray. I might actually over dye it, because I feel like I might be entering my hand dyeing era. Do I have the funds for more natural dyes or chemical dyes right now? Absolutely not. So that's definitely not going to be a project that we get into soon, unless I get like a natural dye sponsor. That would be cool. But look at these beautiful mohair locks. I just think that they will take color really well when the time does come to dye them. I really love the yarns, the like art yarns at Spinaway Farms by Bryce Wonders. Just in general, I think those art yarns are just something to aspire to. A lot of them are super beautiful, and like the core spun yarns that he has, and I just feel like it's one of the few places that you can get really high yardage, really textured, and like interesting art yarns. I feel like art yarns generally come in lower yardages, and there's an assortment of reasons for that, but this is somewhere where you can get like a higher yardage art yarn. Love this mohair. Very, very excited to dye it and use it. It's super duper soft. Bryce was nice enough to gift me a little bit of alpaca, more than a little bit. This is 12 ounces of alpaca. I'll open it up so you can get a look at it. You can definitely see that I need to take out the guard hairs. It is raw llama. I think it needs to be washed, and obviously it needs to be separated. But this will be a fun little side quest, and I am excited to mess around with this. It can be hard to get llama. It can be hard to source llama in general. So if you are looking for llama, we have a llama hookup here. But I think I have some farm llama coming my way as well, so I'm looking forward to doing like a comparison, a side-by-side of the fibers, seeing how different they are from each other, just because, you know, two different animals. And then definitely like my favorite newly discovered hand dyer that I found, and like, oh my gosh, am I wary to share my secrets? Like, absolutely, because I feel like people are going to buy up her entire stock, but her work is so good. All of the work is so good. So this is actually a collaboration. We'll get to that in a moment. But this is from Bricolage Studios. This one is a US sourced comb top targhee in the colorway Prairie. They had a lot of really lovely colorways that incorporated yellow in ways that I definitely was interested in. Like, I had a hard time settling on this combed top, but it's because I also wanted to bring home this baby. So this is, as you can see, it's combed top, but it's also a bat. So the deets on this is that it's a collaboration between Bricolage Studios and Supernova Dyeworks, and it is, these are the stats. The comb top is a merino flax and silk blend, and the bat is a Corriedale merino flax and silk blend. And it is Princess Bubblegum and Marceline the Vampire Queen inspired, which I'm just obsessed with. I had to bring this home. These two are just like stunning, amazing. I am going to be placing more orders with both of these dyers. I'm going to resist every urge to not just like, I have to, you know, recoup after Maryland Sheep and Wool. I should not be ordering more stuff like immediately, but this has me tempted. Before I talk about the last fiber I picked up, I did pick up another container of Unicorn Fiber Wash, the Power Scour. I just love this stuff. It's really good. I have plenty of wool to scour, and I'm on my last like inch on my other bottle, so it's time. I needed a new bottle, and again, I live and die by this stuff. One day, maybe I will be able to buy the gallon amount. One day, a man can dream. And then I did pick up 2 more bobbins for my Shack matchless. I was staying on budget really well, so I could not justify getting a third one because that really would have put me over budget for the whole trip. And again, I was very proud of myself. I did a good job not going too crazy. But yeah, I picked up 2 more bobbins for the Shack matchless, picked up some fiber wash, and then the last fiber that I picked up was from Feederbrook Farms. So it's 8 ounces of just their like space dyed roving. I plan on spinning some of this the way it is, and then I also plan on blending a lot of this. 8 ounces, $20. This was a great deal. I wanted to pick up more than one bag, but I had to have self-control, so I picked the bag with the colors that I thought I would use the most, but I was very tempted by a few other ones. It was hard to decide on the one that I did, but it was all worth it. It was all worth it, because this last item takes the cake. I did it. After a year of hemming and hawing, a year of comparing other drum carders to this drum carder, I finally pulled the trigger, and I finally got the drum carder of my dreams. So a fun fact about me is I have never purchased like wool processing equipment brand new / not on clearance or on sale. All the equipment that I have, my carders and my combs and my blending board, were all clearance / like very heavily discounted because they were in a bundle buys, and then all of my other like spinning equipment is used equipment. This is the first brand new piece of equipment I've ever purchased, and I'm going to talk about a little bit why like I got a brand new one, and mostly it has to do with the fact that it's hard to get these used. And in my opinion, the reason it's hard to get these used is because people don't end up reselling them or selling them off to get a different drum carder. They stick with this drum carder because I'm of the opinion that this is one of the best drum carders on the market, and that might surprise a lot of people considering that it is not necessarily like the biggest named drum carder on the market, nor is it the most expensive. I'm gonna put it out there. There are much more expensive models that people like swear by, but I think if you go online and you do your research and you actually try them out yourself, which I made it my duty to like go to all the different fiber festivals and compare the different drum carders and see which one I actually liked the most. This one by far just has the most pros. And again, I'm gonna talk a little bit about why, but I finally got it. I got the Paul Britton classic carder. I didn't get the smallest size. I got like the medium, the high-sided compact standard, which again, it isn't the biggest drum carder they offer, but it also isn't the smallest. So let's dig into this. Now, first things first, before anybody says anything, I do love sourcing a lot of my spinning equipment here in the US, but there is no doubt that there is some really, really good international spinning equipment, especially. I try to get my fiber sourced here in the US, but equipment I am definitely a little bit more flexible on. So to tell you the exact model that I got the standard high-sided model. So the drum width is 8 inches, the bat length is 23 inches, the max bat weight is 2.5, and it's available in 48, 72, and 120, but I went with the 72. There's also a motorized version. Mine is the hand crank. One of the things that I love about the consideration of design on this drum carder is that you don't have to have this drum carder like over the side of something, like over a lip, so that you can fully like turn the handle. The handle also like you can like collapse it in, although I'm struggling to do it now because I haven't messed around with this thing very much. Again, I've demoed it a few times, but I haven't actually like messed around with it. This is the first time I'm taking it out of the bag. Look at how beautiful she is. Look at how beautiful she is. This is just such a thoughtful design too, which is why it surprises me that it is the cost that it is. Like, I think it's more affordable than a lot of other drum carders on the market. It is beautifully made, One of the like delicious details about it is it's actually signed on the bottom. So it's signed, as you can see, and then it also has a serial number 6221, and I'm pretty sure it's because it's like the 6,000th drum and 6,000th and 221st drum carder that is made. I'm like pretty sure. I know that the number corresponds to like information about which number drum carder was and like when it was made, just like how the shacked serial numbers correspond to that information. It's handmade in Shropshire from solid ash, and again, it comes in sizes from compact to jumbo wide, and there are also motorized models if you are looking for that. I don't know if we're gonna mess around with this on camera, or you guys might have to wait until the next episode to see me actually mess around with the drum carder. Guys, we finally got one. I do have like the doffer and the brush and all of these pieces here, and a how-to guide with some tips and tricks. Again, I demoed this, so I kind of know some of the tips and tricks already. But yeah, I went with the 72 TPI because I process a lot of fleece, and I really think that that is going to be best for all of the fleece processing that I'm going to be doing. I'm really excited to see what avenues this opens. I'm just super excited. I don't know if you can tell, but I saw this a year ago, and I was like, I really think this is the one that I want, but I need to save for it, I need to be a responsible adult, and I need to make sure that this is the one that I want, and I'm not just caught up in the fumes of, you know, the showroom at a fiber festival, because that's real. You know, it's like a casino. You gotta step outside where they have like the normal air for a little while and make sure you're making a rational decision. But fiber friends, thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed this episode and you liked all the things that I got at Maryland Sheep and Wool this year. I am super happy. If you want any more information about any of these small businesses, I'm going to try to put a bunch of the links below so you can go check them out. Again, I really stan the brands that I picked up this year. I think I picked up some, again, I returned to a lot of people who I know make good stuff, and then I found some new hand dyers that I think just have a beautiful ivory color, and I'm really excited to report back about the yarns that I'm actually making with them. And I'll see you guys on the next episode. I think we're gonna mess around with this bad boy on the next one, so don't forget to tune in, don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more silly fiber content. And I do have a TikTok and Instagram, which I'll link below, along with my shop. If you want to pick up any of my hand-spun yarns and help support my art, it is much appreciated. I'll see you guys on the next one.
Okay, friends, surprise, bonus content at the end of the video this week. If you watch to the end, you also get to see a little bit of how I reorganize my stash / what my project space looks like right now, because I always like to be really honest and realistic about it. I did reorganize a lot of these hanging baskets. This is where most of my new fiber ended up. I'm pretty sure when I filmed the video, I totally forgot to talk about this gradient that I also purchased. If I did forget when I'm editing, I'll put the info about it on the screen here. It's a little bit of gradient dyed Corriedale though. I'm really excited to spin it up. But here is what the stash is looking like. Okay, so we have kind of rearranged. This is almost all of the fleeces and things like that I have to spin. If I move this, there's stuff behind it. If I move that bag, there's also stuff behind there. This is mostly yarn at the moment and bobbins, some of my braid samples that I haven't gotten to, some yarn I really need to skein up, the wheels, of course. Over here, I have a lot of my locks and the project I'm currently working on. We're spinning up some blue alpaca and mohair to be plied with that bobbin, the purple one down there. You see that sucker? Yeah, that's what it's gonna get plied with. And then if you follow me on TikTok, Jump Scare, you might not know, I've been building this puppet. He's kind of more of a like ventriloquism style puppet in that he's heavy. He's really heavy and chunky. I made him before buying like a puppet pattern, and I recently bought the TikTok viral puppet pattern that Sophie Tro has been using for their music videos to make all of those puppets. He's my first puppet. I love him, even though he is not perfect, and all of this is done with hot glue. I did not sew a single dang thing for Clyde here, and I do plan on sewing a lot of the next puppet. I think she is going to be clown inspired. So thanks for watching this extra little clip at the end, guys, and I appreciate all the love and support. Clyde says goodbye as well.